Imagine a battlefield where two of the greatest military inventions of antiquity meet. On one side is the Macedonian phalanx, inherited from Alexander the Great. On the other is the Roman legion, a new force ready to rewrite the rules of war. Today, we will take a detailed look at the pros and cons of their formations and understand why the phalanx ultimately suffered defeat. Let's start with the phalanx. The Macedonian phalanx was built as a massive monolithic block called a syntagma. It was a square of 256 men standing in tight ranks, 16 warriors deep and 16 wide. The phalanx's main secret was the sarissa, a massive pike ranging from 5 to 7 meters in length. The first 5 rows held their spears horizontally, creating a literal forest of points out front. The remaining rows held their pikes upward at an angle to deflect incoming arrows and javelins. Such a wall was absolutely impenetrable to a frontal attack by any infantry or cavalry. The phalanx operated as a single mechanism that simply pushed the enemy off the battlefield with its sheer mass. However, this steel hedgehog was extremely unwieldy and depended on every single soldier in the formation. The Romans, however, approached the question of formation with a completely different philosophy, the philosophy of flexibility. Their primary tactical unit was the maniple, which literally meant a handful of soldiers. The legion did not stand as a single wall. Instead, it was built in 3 lines in a checkerboard pattern known as triplex achies. In the first line stood the hastati, young warriors who took the initial blow. Behind them were the principes, fighters in the prime of their lives, and in the rear waited the veteran triarii. The checkerboard layout allowed fresh forces to pass through gaps in the formation and replace exhausted comrades. Every legionnaire was protected by a scutum, a massive semi-cylindrical shield that turned him into a small fortress. Instead of long spears, the Romans used gladii, short swords ideal for close-quarters combat. When these two systems clashed on perfectly level ground, the Romans ran into trouble. The legionnaires simply couldn't get within sword-striking distance because of the 5-meter Greek pikes. In the early stages of the battles of Cynocephaly and Pydna, the phalanx confidently pushed the legions back, forcing them to retreat. But this is exactly where the fundamental weakness of the Greek formation was revealed. The phalanx was perfect in theory, but too fragile for the real world. As soon as the army moved onto broken terrain, the formation inevitably began to break. Any hill, stream, or thicket forced some phalangites to speed up while others slowed down. In the monolithic row of sarissas, barely noticeable gaps and cracks began to appear. The Macedonian phalangite was a hostage to his pike, which he was required to hold with both hands. He had no large shield for individual protection, and his short knife was useless against Roman armor. Roman centurions possessed remarkable tactical autonomy and did not wait for orders from above. Seeing a gap in the Greek line, they instantly directed their maniples into it. Like water, the legionnaires flowed into the cracks between the rows of pikes, where the sarissas became a useless burden. Once inside the phalanx, the Roman went to work. The gladius allowed for quick and precise stabbing thrusts. The Roman scutum allowed them to literally push aside the shafts of the sarissas, breaking the Greek formation from within. The phalangites could not turn to repel an attack from the flank or rear without destroying the entire structure.
The Romans also effectively used pila, heavy throwing javelins. Before the collision, legionnaires unleashed a hail of pila that embedded themselves in the Greeks' shields. Due to a special design, the tip of the pilum would bend, making it impossible to pull out, which rendered the shield too heavy and useless. Stripped of their shields and maneuverability, the phalanx became easy prey for the mobile legionnaires. In the end, Rome's victory was inevitable. The legion could fight in forests, on hills, and in cities, while the phalanx required level ground conditions. The short sword and large shield proved more effective than the long pike as soon as the distance closed. Rome didn't just defeat the Greeks, it closed an entire chapter in military history. The era of monolithic phalanxes vanished, giving way to the era of professional legions for many years to come. From then until the very fall of the empire, the legion remained the gold standard of military power. And that is all from me. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.